The tax structure in India is applicable to people who are resident Indians. You become an NRI on two conditions. One is if you are outside India for more than 182 days in any 1 year. Year in India is from 1st of April to 31st of March the next year. In that period, if you happen to be outside India for more than 182 days or more, then for that particular year you automatically become a non-resident Indian. There is an additional condition to it. In case if you are less than 182 days but more than 60 days, at least 60 days you have to be outside the country. And in the last 4 years, together you have been for 365 days and more outside India. In that condition also you become an NRI. If you become an NRI, all your overseas income cannot be taxed in India. Overseas income is income which is earned or accrued outside India, cannot be taxed in India as per Indian Income Tax Act. It could be taxed abroad but not in India. The money that you remit after earning outside to India and that money is going to earn money in India, then that would get taxed. That has nothing to do with it because that is an Indian income for you. Overseas income cannot get taxed as per if you are an NRI. That's how it is. There is nothing much that has changed. This 60 days term has got introduced. Earlier 60 days was not there. It has got introduced recently. That's the only change. So you need to be careful. For the person who is coming out of India for the first time, he should make sure he gets out of India before 30th September so that 182 days condition can be met. And when you go on vacation, you need to make sure that you don't take a vacation more than 60 days. This is an extraordinary time nowadays what is happening, for which we are expecting the government to come out with some kind of relaxation for whatever corona is done. Otherwise, normally once you come out, then your overseas income will not be taxed in India. Assume that you have earned a certain set of money. Send it to India and you are keeping the money in an account in India. And that is put into a deposit where you earn interest. That interest is taxable. Your money that you have remitted will not be taxed. Whatever you earn from that money, it could be like you have put in a mutual fund portfolio that you have put in. You are earning dividend out of it, interest out of it from the companies that you have invested. That income would be taxed. The principal amount will not be taxed. In case if you have put that money into an asset, say you are buying a land or a building or something like this, and down the line you are selling it, the difference between what you put in and what you have earned from that will be taxed as capital gains. It is a separate thing. It is not income tax, it is a capital gain, but it is coming under Income Tax Act. So that will also get taxed. Your principal amount that you have earned here will never ever get taxed as long as you are NRI. It will not happen. No, never. It can never be taxed as long as your status is NRI, that you are outside India for more than 182 days in any financial year, or 60 days and 365 days in the past 3 years, past 4 years. This is the condition. If any of these two conditions you are satisfying, your outside income can never be taxed. This is nothing to do with an Income Tax Act. This is to do with the Banking Regulation Act of India, where if you are a person who is having sources of income in foreign currency, it could be an Indian, it could be a resident Indian, or it could be a non-resident Indian, doesn't make a distinction. If you have an income of overseas which is designated in dollar, any other currency besides India, you are allowed to open a NRE external account, we call it. It is NREE or NREO. Either it is an ordinary account or an external account. These are the difference between them. An ordinary account will always be designated in Indian currency. It has to be rupees only. A NRE account could be designated in any currency. The difference between these two is remittances inside the external currency account can only be in foreign currency. It cannot be in India. You can designate the account in NRE, Indian rupees also, but it will get converted and it will be sent to in Indian rupee account. But your remittance should always be from abroad. You cannot have a NRE external account and get Indian currency deposited into it, they will not accept. You could go on a vacation, go and deposit money in it, they will accept only dollars or non-rupees. You can deposit any non-rupees. They will take it depending upon the branch. All branches cannot have the capability to accept currency. What they do is, if it is a smaller branch, they send it to the zonal office or a regional office where the exchange rate is determined, and then it gets credited into your account. Till such time it will not be get credited, but they will never ever accept a Indian rupees. Ordinary account, they will accept only Indian rupees, not foreign currency. So when you earn and send from any of the exchanges here or the bank here, it is a dirham designated amount for you. It gets converted into Indian rupees and credited to your account. This is fundamental one difference. The second difference is, Reserve Bank of India allows you to take the money in the external account. Whatever balance is there in your external account, you can repatriate back to wherever you want it. It need not be wherever you have sent it from. If you have sent it from US, it need not go to US only, you can send it to Japan. So there was a control mechanism for foreign currencies earlier. Now slowly they have opened it up. Still, a normal Indian cannot send just like that money abroad. It is not permissible. They have to tell them the reasons and all those things. Recently, from 1st of October, there is a tax on it. Probably all this confusion is coming because of that. In an Indian rupee account, you cannot send outside. It's not possible. So many NRIs, what they do is they open both the accounts. They send all their foreign remittances into external account. All that spending locally, they move it from here to the spending or move it to the ordinary account and then spend. Any property or anything that they earn in India, they can have it deposited only in the ordinary account. They cannot deposit in the external account. They don't allow. Indian government or the Banking Regulation Act does not allow. This is one part. Second part is, legally, once you have become an NRI, you cannot have a normal savings account in India. It is restricted. It is illegal to have a normal savings account. It has to get designated as NRE ordinary account. The banker should know that you have become a overseas resident. It cannot be, they will not, because the normal transactions, it cannot be. Reserve Bank, they have to inform that this guy has become an NRE, so the amount is like this in his credit. Even if you have a savings bank account, as soon as the banker gets to know you are an NRE, he will designate that account as NRE ordinary account. He will not keep it as a regular account. So there will be slight restrictions on the transaction, but all that rental income that you earn, somebody has to give you back money that they have taken from you. All that gets deposited into an ordinary account. If you want to have money coming into an external account locally, say I am an NRE, you are an NRE, you are giving me a hand loan, that has got transferred from your external account to my external account, that I can repay back to your external account in locally there. They allow that. I cannot pay from my ordinary account, from my external account you can. Because that has the capability to take it out. From ordinary account, you can never take the money out of India. So that's how it is. The only applicability of tax will come where you have invested in India. Say you have a home, you have leased it out. That guy is giving you rental. That rental cannot come to external account, it will come to ordinary account. So when he gives that money, you need to disclose that to Income Tax Act. It is taxable. You have to show it for tax purposes in India. What you earn here as a salaried employee or a businessman outside India, you don't need to disclose in your tax return, but that money have to be disclosed. If you have a fixed deposit, that interest income should also be disclosed as your income. Whether you receive it in this account or that account, you need to show, because that income is earned in India. You have to disclose it to the income tax. The regulation that got changed now for 1st of October is not applicable to NREs at all. No NRE, it has any relevance to this. Indians who are resident in India who want to send money abroad, there is a tax. Depending upon the purpose, if it is for educational purpose, it is 0.5%. Any other purpose it's 5%, provided in both these cases you have a PAN number. If you don't have PAN number, it doubles. It will become 5% and 10%. It is much more. Any resident Indian who wants to travel abroad on a tour package, if he is going to book hotel directly, if he is going to book Lufthansa Delhi, Frankfurt Delhi, it's not applicable. If he is going to go to Thomas Cook or somebody there and say that I want a 3 weeks tour package to Germany, how much is it? He gives that quote to you. If that happens to be whatever value, you are taxed on it for 5%. Only there it is applicable. And there is no, it's for resident Indians, it's not for us. For all other purposes, they have given a limit of 7 lakhs. Anything more than 7 lakhs only, it gets taxed. For tour packages, there is no limit. Right from first rupee that you spend, you need to pay tax for tour packages. But it is not applicable. Nobody who is outside India as a non-resident should worry about it. It's not applicable. It will be applicable. If it is a package, they have to pay tax. If you are going to make individual booking, like you book the airline ticket separately and you yourself contact the hotel and book, then it is not. If you buy as a package, an Umrah package where everything is applicable, you have to pay 5% tax on it, provided you give the PAN number. If you don't give the PAN number, then it will get doubled. You have to. People who are here, it is advisable that they pay it directly to the agent and get the relatives from there. It will not be applicable then, because the funds, if it moves out of India in an Indian rupee form, is what it is applicable. The regulation is applicable to who will deduct it is either the banker or an exchange who is remitting the money in the case of all other things except tourism package. Tourism package, the tourist company who are taking the money, they will apply it. So if the package is say 5 lakhs, 5 lakh and 5% of 5 lakh, about 25,000, it will get applied to them. He will take that much money from you. If you are giving from a foreign earned income, it will not be applicable. Though you could get your relatives, whoever you want, you can get them. They will not be playing this. TDS is for ease of collecting tax. Indian government has made changes. This has been implemented for so many years now, that before the money reaches the person who has earned it, tax get deducted. It is not that you get the money and you go and voluntarily pay. They have shifted the payment part from the person who has earned to person who is giving you. So say you have a house where you have rented it out and the guy is paying rent. The person, before he pays rent to you, he will deduct TDS and pay to the government. So when you get the rent, it is netted off of tax. That is called TDS. For us, the applicability would be anybody who is an NRE. The only applicability I see is where you are building a house, you have employed a contractor, you have to deduct tax before you pay to the contractor. It will be our obligation, because we cannot say, he quotes you 2,500 per square feet. You are building a house of 1,000 square feet. Any payment that you are making for the contractor, you need to deduct tax at source, pay it to the government and tell the guy that, look, I have deducted this much from your payment. He can claim and all those things. Our obligation is to deduct and pay to the government. This is what TDS is. Besides this is from payment point of view. Otherwise, the guy who is paying you rent, he will deduct. Any banker will deduct and pay you. They will not pay you interest unless they have deducted the tax. If you don't want them to deduct, there is a form called 16 or something that is applicable. You need to fill, tell them that, look, I am not obliged to pay income tax this year because my income is less than whatever cutoff that the government has set in that finance bill. So don't deduct. You need to give an undertaking like this with the PAN number. Then the bank will not deduct. Otherwise, bank will automatically deduct and give you a certificate saying that we have deducted this much tax. You take those certificates, file a return to the government and claim the refund if you are not applicable. Proactively, if you want to do, you need to do before the bank deducts it. Otherwise, you can claim the refund always. The government will give back the money. if it is not applicable to you. If you leave it as it is, government will take the money. If you don't file a return, it will automatically get paid off as tax for you. They will not ask you anything, it will be, you don't file a nil return or a claim return, until that they will not pay you back. It will be adjusted as tax. No, it will never be. The only people who can tax you there is the people who are giving you the money. That is, foreign governments can tax. Indian government can never tax that. They will not tax. If your resident status has changed, they will tax. Your global income will get taxed wherever you earn it. But what you earn here, send it to any exchange from here, it will not be taxed. UAE government or any Gulf government might tax it.
What is global income? What do you mean by global income?
Global income is the income, say, suppose you are a resident in UAE, you had been here. In here, you could sit here and buy a house in UK. You don't need to be in UK to buy a house. You can buy a house there. Then say you have invested something in the Tokyo Stock Exchange from sitting here. You can do all those things because there is free movement of currency between these two places. Once you become a resident Indian, whatever you earn in Tokyo, whatever you earn in London, whatever you earn here, it will get taxed. The complete global income, wherever you have earned, it will get taxed in India. And that would be a huge money.
That is based on our investment, you see.
Yeah, based on your investment. Once your residential status becomes resident in India. So it's good to maintain the residential status. You need to be careful about it. It's a very, very vast question because the income tax slabs, according to the value of the rent that you receive, is what you will be taxed. I would say what is general part of it, when you have a rental income, the government allows you to deduct 30% of that income as a deduction. For maintenance of the property and all those things, they say that you can deduct 30%. This is one. Two, if you have taken a loan for that specific property, interest income on that loan, whatever you pay to the bank, that can be deducted from it. Two. Three, any taxes that you pay, municipal taxes, whatever tax that particular property has incurred, you can deduct. These three things can be easily deducted from that. After deducting all this, whatever value comes, depending upon the slab that is applicable, if your property is earning 1,50,000 per month, then your slab will be totally different. It will be 30% rate that will be taxed. If your property is earning 30,000, then you will not be taxed at all. It will be below that 5 lakh cutoff limit. So depending upon where the property falls, after adjusting these things, is the rate. So rate I will not be able to tell you, it is very subjective. Otherwise, you should not worry. As long as you don't come from that minimum cutoff period, you should not worry. If you have, then you need to have an accountant there to file your tax return. It is required to file your tax return. It will be a problem when you relocate. So it's good to file a return. Tax return you need to file and then show them that I have a property, I have leased it out and this is the income that I am getting, I have paid tax like this. Else government has the right to charge interest on all the income tax that you have not paid, and that interest is something which is compounding on a monthly basis. So it is not advisable to do any hanky-panky kind of thing, employ an accountant there, give him all the picture and then he will make sure that it gets filed off. So that's how it is. If you have property income and if that income is going beyond that cutoff limit of 5 lakh, then you need to take care of all those things. And it will become an obligation of the guy who is a tenant to deduct tax also. He will deduct and pay you. Not many properties can earn that kind of amounts. No, we are all normal middle class people, so we will not have that kind of. You are right. There are 5 streams of income that gets taxed as per Income Tax Act. What bank pays you, from that bank, it knows only that aspect, is it not? So you could have multiple banks. You could have other incomes also. Bank will not know that. So bank will blindly deduct whether you are getting 10,000 as interest income or 10 lakhs as interest income, it will deduct because it doesn't want to go beyond what it knows. So it will automatically, this is a regulation from the government, it will deduct. It is our obligation to go and tell the bank that I don't have any income, please don't deduct. Before they deduct, we need to go and tell this. Otherwise, they will deduct and give you a certificate, go claim it from the government. So you have to go to the income tax department and claim it. You are right. But bank is not government. It will not know all our incomes. It will know only that income where they are giving it to you. That's the reason why they do it. And it's an obligation on their part to do it. Otherwise, it will be penalty on them. So they have to deduct it before it reaches our account. So they net it off, and it's a gradual process. Nowadays, they are doing it in every quarter. They are deducting and giving. When the interest gets credited, it is automatically getting deducted and given. And bank sends you an email saying that this is how we have deducted. This is the certificate for you to claim the refund. Interest that they are crediting to you, interest that they are crediting only on that interest part, they will deduct it. Yes.
Okay.
Not on the money that is lying in the account. No. Only the interest.
Only for the interest that is applicable.
Yeah, only when they are crediting a 10,000 interest on which they will deduct a 10% and then credit net of that 10%. Likewise, if you have equity in any company that you have got equity, when they pay you dividend, they will deduct the TDS and pay you dividend. If you have a debenture where you have deposited with the bank, with the company, they will deduct. Everywhere before they give you, they deduct. If you don't want them to deduct, you need to tell them that you are not chargeable to tax beforehand and file a return to them. File a form. This is a specific form depending upon the nature of income you have. There is a specific form, you file it and then get they will not deduct it. Then they will file that to the government and say that this guy has given us the form, that's why we have not deducted. That's how it is.